Hey, welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So I'd like to show you my Paladin tanking run of Master Temple of the Spider, which today I believe is probably the smoothest run I've had. Now, we were going for Deathless. Unfortunately, we didn't quite make it. You'll see in the last 15 seconds at the end. But this run then is supposed to be really optimal. We're all supposed to be at peak performance, killing the enemies as quickly as possible, on top of me making sure they're attacking me and not my allies, stunning them, etc. So on my Paladin tank, you can see the setup I'm using. My build is a bit of a mix of the build video I posted a while back, so there's still some very good tips in there, but you can see we're running as our encounter powers, our Templar's Wrath, and then we have our Burning Light, and then we have our Binding Oath. There's no real need to have Binding Oath, to be honest. In AoE, you could have Sacred Weapon just at work just as well, since it will give you actually extra threat, and it'll also give you a bit of stamina. But additionally, with Binding Oath, whenever the enemies attack you, they also take damage, so that helps a bit in threat there as well. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. There are some ad groups which do pack a punch, so being able to regenerate that shield quickly does help. Like going into this ad group here, I'm not entirely sure what the best move is there, but yeah, basically you're jumping into the group using Burning Light and Templars, and that way they pretty much don't do anything and the DPS can kill them all. And the Burning Light just right at the beginning, or using this Frozen Storyteller artifact, basically stuns all the enemies, meaning they aren't going to do anything, which gives me a little bit of time to make sure they're going to attack me by hitting them all with Templar's Wrath and giving me time to get positioning, move to the opposite side of them before they all move about as well. And overall, it just really helps to have a bit of stun in your kit. Unfortunately, one of the DPS jumped off and died there. It should actually count still as deathless, even though they fell off, because that doesn't quite count as a death. You'll note that on the Living Dead, you can see it doesn't count as a death. So we should still be good to get deathless. We took the chance and we continued. So moving forward here, we get through the door, we have our campfire, we take a little break here, wait for that DPS, and then we're on to the next group. So again, it's starting out with the stun, then a Templar's Wrath, and then perhaps a Burning Light. I maybe save it for this group over here. I do indeed, and using the Carpet as the mount power to help group up enemies. It's really nice. We are using the Turban of Shifting Sands, but well, I never really used my daily power, so that didn't really help, but whatever. And you could use your daily power a lot more often, or at all. Just you could use the Divine Protector. There's no real need, to be honest. Or you could use the one where you get their knights and they charge at the enemy and they knock down the enemies. That can be useful. I just hate the cast time on it. It's too long. Please just reduce it down to maximum 1 second, not freaking 2 seconds. Anyway, everything's going pretty smoothly here. We are running with 3 wizards though, so that does make it even easier because they can all run with shield on tab. So they basically get an extra 40% hit points as an added layer of protection. Yeah, this dungeon is definitely built for the wizard, that's for sure. Anyway, we're not doing too bad here at all. I don't consider myself too great a tank with regards to ads, as it's a bit chaotic, and sometimes you can leave one ad here or there ending up fighting the DPS, and that could be the one ad which causes you to fail, just because that could be the guy who can deal a shit ton of damage. Now we're switching back to the Manticore helmet, we're getting our overloads, and we also switch to the Heart of the Black Dragon artifact for those debuffs. And I believe in this run I actually forgot to switch my mount, which was kind of stupid. But we're jumping into the first boss, and this is probably the hardest challenge you're going to have as the tank, as with this shocking execution, which we didn't block there and luckily deflected. We should have blocked, that's for sure, but we're fortunate, and all goes well. And you can see at the beginning there we are literally using dumping those Templar's Wraths on the boss. Keeping an eye out on the left there, you can see those little bubbles above their names, and those basically show the threat meters. We've got some good damage here. We phased already, and we can just at will spam those clones and they'll all attack me. We got a trap spawning on us there, but very nicely, if it comes in right basically when you're standing there, it'll do no damage. And luckily, again, this shocking execution wasn't like a crit and it was a deflect, so we survived that just fine. Might have had issues if it was a crit and not a deflect, but it wasn't. Anyway, all good. The luck's with us. And we're just then attacking with our at-will here, spamming away. And basically we could predict the shocking execution there. You just kind of get a feel for it. After a certain amount of time, you kind of know when it's going to happen. I don't know how to explain it. I've never really actually looked at the exact timing, but calling artifacts there, yeah, I have the carpet, so not great. But we'll just combine it with the wizard's daily power there to group everything up, and we can just sit here, tank stuff, and the DPS can love it just by just me sitting still, enemies not running about the place, easy to group them up. That's always a very nice thing if you can do that as tank, not have to run around the place. And the DPS also have abilities to like freeze the enemies, so that's very nice as well. Now the boss is coming back here, and she'll always do a shocking execution, so you can be prepared for that. And again, it can just be about the timing. You kind of get a feel for when she's going to come back, and that's really what tanking is about. Yeah, you could have timers on the side and time everything, but I haven't. Yes, I could analyze the exact fight. I could tell you, let's say every 15 seconds she's going to do a shocking execution, or every 30 seconds. I haven't even looked at it, but you can just practice it yourself and you can get good at that, or you can watch this video and you can see when she does it. But again, it's all about patterns, and just tanking this here, we're switching between like having absolution up, our daily up when we need it, and then our tab stance, which is like that automatic block ability. It's really easy then to tank, let's say the shocking execution there. The wizard there did get stuck in a trap, but very fortunately the healer was great and managed to heal him through it. So as of yet, nobody's died. This was risky. Oh god. Being stuck in those middle of the barrels, you do not want that, especially without a dodge or shift ability where you can quickly move to the side. But we've come over here and the boss is going to be coming back. There he is. There's a shocking execution, and wonderful. It is nice actually having a hollowed ground in this boss fight from the cleric, as it will provide a bit of survivability. So we're making sure we have like just our toes touching it. That'll give us that bit of added support from that. It's a bit of heals and a bit of damage reduction. We're calling our artifacts again, and you just want to keep an eye out on the left there of the allies at threat meters. And ultimately, you basically rarely see me using Templar's Wrath here. I use it when there's all those ads, but we really don't have to on the boss because you can just keep spamming your at-will. I use the keybind thing, or you can just use it manually yourself. Basically, you're rotating between using your shield and your at-will, and that basically animation cancels the at-will. Again, another DPS got stuck in the trap, and very fortunately, they managed to kill the barrel. I got stuck in this trap, which was really bad. Ooh. Anyway, Stone of Health there, good healer, and maybe we can still pull this through. We have 8 stacks. It's probably doable. Yeah, we just need to make sure we're grouped up and they can heal everybody together. The problem is here, it's so easy to die with the red areas if you're not full HP, if they get like a crit when you're basically a DPS, but they all got their shields on tab and that worked out wonderful. So that's the first boss done, and yeah, you can look back on that, skip back on it, you can mute me and you can just watch the gameplay, and ultimately hopefully it helps. Just the way I tank it maybe will help you. Again, here we're switching back to our powers. We need to find Burning Light. I don't know why I took a lot of time to find that, but we got our Burning Light there, and I believe we still stuck with our carpet. We should have switched our artifact but didn't. Maybe we do so a bit later, but there's this ad sneaking in the corner here. We may as well aggro him. You saw what I did there with the first group of spiders. We basically ran out, aggroed them all back to the boss room, and they all died. Meanwhile, the DPS were switching their loadouts over to like AoE, so we can just fight these few groups here. There's not many. The guys did tell me to just kill the phase spiders, so they went out and we got to aggro them there. A quick stun at the beginning and then the Templar's Wrath and you're good. You can look at the ads as well and you can see the threat meters on them just to make sure they're attacking you. But when there's so many around you, it's not really easy to keep track of it. Basically, whatever you're targeting, you'll be able to see the threat meters of that person or that enemy. So again, it's like that quick stun, the Templar's Wrath, and the carpet to group everything up. I think it works really well. Yes, there is the new mount, and I haven't actually tried it in any practical content. It could work if you have it combined with a carpet as well, or the Wizard's Daily Power there, like Furious Immolation, or even your Arcane Singularity, where you group things up, and then giving permanent CA against everything, or 6 seconds. Could be useful along with minion consume, but most master content, these enemies are like 4 dots, 3 dots, maybe at minimum 2 dots, so nothing's gonna be dying to that minion consume. There's gonna be some content, I know for sure it's gonna be really great. But here we go to the left. Usually you might have seen we just jump to the right there amongst all the big groups of enemies. We're just playing it safe here. Like, we're going again for deathless. Ideally nobody's dying, so we're playing it like a little bit more cautiously than you normally would, taking each group at a time and not going for such big pulls, as that can be risky and end up somebody dying. Like here, we had to use a Stone of Health, or maybe we would have died. Unlikely. The healer's really good. Anyway, that's all these ads beat up, and we're going to move to the second boss. We just need to make sure we're going to switch our stuff again, so make sure this time we actually switch the mount over to the lion. There we go. And we got to switch our artifact, which we did actually at some point switch over to frozen. We get that back to the heart, and you can see a bit of my build there. We are using like Mysticore and so on. I do have an augment here, and that's because, again, playing on the side of caution, but you will see I will switch off from an augment on the last boss, as like 3% extra damage is not going to be a big deal, and it's better if I'm not just going to get one shot from this boss. So this burst damage here with the artifact call, you need to make sure you have the threat, and you can see the way I did it there, just combining those Templar's Wraths and swinging with your at-will, and it worked fine. We do have pretty good damage in this group. Otherwise, we're here, I can just swing my at-will and kind of animation cancel my shield as well, and that'll give me some more action points to get my daily back, and also maybe a bit of stamina. And yeah, we're just waiting for the boss to get back. You do not want to go near the platform in the middle. That's the laser. We totally should have just moved out of it. There's no need to take that hit. But yeah, again, with that phase, you want to make sure you're away from the middle, from the arena, the platform place where the boss goes. Otherwise, she'll like hit the DPS. On this boss fight, the most challenging part, I believe, is those red areas and basically not overlapping them and not killing somebody. Because if you have a red area and somebody gets caught in it with you, then they're most likely going to die. Again, this boss has like her laser mechanic, which you can just move out of, but does also hit pretty hard, so it's not very forgiving. Like, that's why I kind of moved to a critical avoidance build, because of that fact that you're mainly tanking just a few big hits here and there, like even chained one after another in like a short time frame, rather than just a series of multiple little hits over time that you might have had with like Crown of Keldagon and so on, or Tiamat, whereas this one, it's like these massive hits. Like, that was the laser that I'm not sure why it still hit me, but like, yeah, easy, like only 300k. But that laser can hit you for like 1.45 million, depending on your crit avoidance, when it doesn't deflect and crits. Yeah, you gotta watch out for that. So you want to make sure you block it or just move out of it. We're doing pretty lucky here. We call the artifact call, which not optimal time, but like, as a tank with this boss, with those red areas like you just saw there, I generally move to the door, and I've told these guys that I move to the door with it so that they know to move away. Again, like they're ranged. They can afford to stand a bit away from the boss. Same with the healer. There's no need anybody to be right up close to him other than me. So it works out, right? They can just move away when I get the red area. And otherwise, we have phased the boss again. You get those demons. We may as well just go here and hit something. The boss will hit you during this phase as well. So you want to make sure you don't get too low in HP. And the healer kind of wants to keep an eye out on you as well. You can just like walk around with your shield up and like animation cancel there and end up blocking on your shield too. We ended up, I didn't actually notice when we ran this, quite a lot of ritual strength. Not ideal when going for deathless, that's for sure. But we were fortunate. Nobody got like comboed like with a scream combined with the red area, so we were lucky. Also, I believe the DPS are still all running with shield on tab, so they can take that scream ability that's supposed to like one hit you when you have a certain amount of stacks. They can take that pretty easily. And that's the second boss complete. Pretty smooth. Again, just using those powers on my tank works pretty well. Switching between our at-will spam and daily power and binding oath to regenerate shield and absolution basically whenever you have it. And Templar's Wrath just for that threat. And then we're moving on to the ad groups. Not bad here at all. And just make sure you got their attention. We saved our carpet. Somebody else was using it there. There didn't seem to be an ideal situation to use it. I thought maybe there would be an ad hiding behind that corner, so I was going to have a look. But anyway, there's ads up there. We use the carpet on those, and they can hit pretty hard. That's why you let the tank go first. And even when the tank does, it takes a ton of damage. I mean, a DPS could go first, and they could just immunity frame everything. But that's all the ads done in this dungeon with the first two bosses, and we're on to the final boss. Again, switching our powers over, we got to switch our artifact and our mount, and this time we're upgrading our Black Death Scorpion to Mythic so that we can use this as our support companion, because this boss is so annoying for DPS. When this boss just teleports freaking everywhere, yeah, getting combat advantage all the time against this boss is really annoying. Now, you may have seen I've switched Absolution actually over to Vow, and the reason is because this boss is annoying. You can't attack her all the time with the at-will because of her teleporting. I did actually switch on later attempts over to like Relentless Avenger, just to close the gap really quick. When the boss teleports to the other side, you can just literally follow her with Relentless Avenger. I have done that. We're just taking these red lines here. That's our duty. And for the rest, hold the threat. But again, since she doesn't stay next to you all the time and has some CC abilities, which are not the easiest to predict, like this one, it's not as easy to hold threat, I find, compared to the other bosses. So I've warned my DPS comrades about that, to keep an eye out on their threat, and we have switched to using Vow. At this point, I think we have switched over to Absolution instead of Templars, as we should be okay with just using Vow when we need to as like our hard taunt, because when you're later on in the fight, like with the top of the threatless powers putting you 10% above the most damage dealt to the enemy, that gets higher and higher, like that 10% difference, when basically the DPS get higher in damage. You know what I mean, right? 10% at 100k is just 10k, and 10% at 100 million is 10 million. So yeah, anyway, it gets easier and easier, and we have switched over to that. But you can see those threat meters. They are all pretty close to getting to orange. Orange is when they're like within 10%. When you see somebody go in orange, that's like ideally when you want to use Vow. Like there was really no point in me using Vow there at all. But we have another red line here. And also, if you want to play it safe as tank in this boss, you ideally only get maybe 5 stacks of red. And if we have enough DPS, you generally don't need to get any more than that. You might have slower DPS groups, and at that point, I wouldn't take more than 5 red. Just let the DPS take it. You can tell them before you go in that that's going to happen, so that they aren't all unexpectedly taking reds, and they know that they should take 1, and they should generally be fine with just 1. Now this was really unfortunate. See where the boss is, see where the cocoon is. Yeah, the DPS couldn't get her out, so she died. that didn't actually count as a death. So we would have been okay if we could kill the boss here. And well, we did until this happened. You can see the healer died. Very unfortunate, and that's kind of screwed up the whole deathless thing. Not sure what I could have done there. The healer had a cooldown of like 1 second left on the Stone of Health. I guess he could have avoided taking the green and maybe let a DPS. I don't know, but it was then a failed deathless run, which is very unfortunate. We had a lot of AFK time, so it does show like 36 seconds. I know before the second boss. So it was definitely a run that we played a lot on the safe side. I wanted to relog, check my internet, make sure everything was set. So hopefully this maybe helped you out a little bit, specifically with tanking that dungeon. I know it's not that straightforward. Will take you a good bit of practice before you get the rotations, the patterns down of those bosses and how to react and respond. Massive thank you to all of these channel members for their added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.